So a few weeks ago I made a video talking about how everyone just seems to love being angry. We're always looking for things to be upset about, and if we don't have any major problems in our life, we will seek them out. And then a few weeks before that I made a video talking about all of the ways that people fall for internet bait, or clickbait, or rage bait. Well, now it's time to put those two things together and talk about all of the ways that the media manipulates us. You know, in the current year, we're exposed to so much media. We're always online, we're bombarded by news, social media, our friends sharing articles, hearing about news and politics just about everywhere you go. And this non-stop bombardment of news and politics and everything just causes people to go a little bit crazy. And there's a lot of so-called journalists out there that really like to take advantage of that. So like I mentioned in one of my past videos, people are always looking for a cause to fight for. You know, they're looking for something to be outraged by, they want to make a difference, they want to join a cause. And so those types of people are very susceptible to rage bait around the internet. They'll see a lot of articles about some topic, and the more they see it and the more it keeps getting pushed in their face, the more they'll start to think, wow, this is really a problem, I need to do something about this. But you have to take into account something that I call the 5-story rule. And that is that in a country of over 300 million people, you can find at least 5 stories of just about anything you want. For example, take a look at this story. Dog shoots man, man survives, defends the dog. He didn't mean to do it, he's a good dog. Another story, puppy shoots Florida man, deputies say. And another one, man who had leg amputated after being shot by dog reveals how he nearly died. And another one, dog shoots man. And another one, dog shoots man, NH hunter wounded when pet steps on shotgun, trigger guard. And another one, dog shoots man, German court rules owner not fit for license. See, I just showed you a handful of stories about dogs shooting their owners. Now if you saw one of those stories every day for maybe a week or two, then you might start to feel like, wow, this is becoming a real problem. And that's the thing, you don't have to actually know the numbers of how many times it happens, but just the amount of stories you hear about it, as long as it's more than 3 or 4, you're going to feel like it's happening all the time. So let me just draw a little graph here in Paint. So like I said, the 5-story rule. So here's the 5 stories that you hear about. And then behind the curtain, you're always assuming that if you've heard 5 stories about something, then there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of times that this has happened. You know, it's happening all the time, everywhere, all over the country. Because if you've heard about this at least 5 times, then, I mean, how many times has it happened where you haven't heard about it? I mean, who knows? It's probably going on every day nonstop. But what a journalist can do is that they can show you 5 stories of something, when in reality, there's maybe like 4 or 5 times where it's happened ever. But you see those 5 stories, so you assume that, oh, this is happening nonstop, this is happening everywhere. You think that it's something like this. But in reality, it's not nearly as common as they make it sound. And oftentimes, these writers are just trying to fill your head with some sort of message. They want you to think a certain way. Oftentimes, they want you to be angry about something and get you on their side. So what you get out of this is probably going to be something like, well, we can't really trust the individual stories all the time because that doesn't always paint a bigger picture of a trend that's happening. So we must always pay attention to statistics, right? Well, believe it or not, there are a lot of ways that you can lie with statistics as well. Just take a look at this example from a YouTuber known as Zack.
In the 1970s, someone noticed that Berkeley was accepting 44% of male applicants to their graduate school, but only 35% of female applicants. These numbers that we saw are true, but very misleading. When you look at how male and female applicants applied to each program within the graduate school, the assumed bias not only goes away, but kind of flips. Look closely here. In this row, you see there was a high acceptance rate for the program. In fact, women had a much higher acceptance rate, but still overall it was high for everyone. However, way more men applied to this one, whereas more women applied to these programs down here with much lower acceptance rates. So since a higher percentage of women were applying to these programs with higher rejection rates, the overall acceptance of women would be lower guaranteed, even though they are in fact slightly favored across a couple of departments. So either of these headlines could be published with the necessary stats to back them up. And all you gotta do is pick which one you wanna use, toss the other, throw that into an article, put it in bold right on the top, put the cleverly selected statistics down below it to back it up, and you've got yourself a story.
Obviously, statistics can be very easy to cherry pick. There's so many different angles that you can look at some sort of trend. And just like the 5-story rule, there's almost any conclusion you can come out of whatever statistics that you're looking at. So why have all of these news publishers and journalists gone so far downhill? I mean, sure, most of them will exaggerate a title or throw a lot of opinion in there, but sometimes they'll even just completely make stories up out of thin air. Well, there's kind of a few reasons. I mean, obviously, most journalists are very involved in politics and they're very opinionated, they have a lot of biases, and so they're much more likely to write an article from their point of view. You know, whether it's claimed as a factual paper or an op-ed, they're going to have some kind of agenda that they want to push on you. In some ways, a lot of journalists are just glorified Facebook posters. You know, they're just writing out a very detailed opinion that they have on some story. But of course, a lot more people are going to trust it because of the branding. Another reason this is such a common thing, obviously, is money. It's been proven many times that people are much more likely to share articles out of rage rather than excitement or joy. And so they love to prey on these types of people that are very easily angered whenever they see a story about something. And now I'll just kind of finish off by something very interesting that I heard from another YouTuber recently. I mean, it does sound a little bit conspiratorial, but I feel like there's still a lot of weight behind this. So you remember the whole Jeffrey Epstein story that is actually starting to come back up again recently? In a strange sort of way, it was one of the most politically unifying things that we've ever seen. Something funny I noticed, even, is that if you look at the like to dislike ratio on all of Fox News' YouTube videos, you know, most of their average videos have about an 80 to 90% like ratio, but the ones that are about Jeffrey Epstein have like a 99% like ratio. Because something that we can all agree on is that there is a kind of ruling class of elites that just stays hidden but controls the rest of the world and wants to just hold on to all of their money and power and doesn't want people realizing it. And so what I heard from another YouTuber a few weeks ago was that there's something like 4 or 5 people on top of all of the largest media companies in the world. You know, people who own Disney, CNN, ESPN, just all of the news sites, and they basically get to control whatever goes into your head. I mean, sure, you can blame journalists for writing these stupid articles, but a lot of the time, those types of people are selected because the company wants that type of message spread around. And so these supposed super powerful, ultra-rich, elite people decide that they want everyone to be talking about something. They have the authority to just get all of their companies spreading the messages far and wide, you know, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over YouTube, and all over the news sites. And so when they see most of the general public coming together and realizing that we have some sort of a class issue, that there are these ultra-wealthy people who have way too much power, then they can basically come out and control the public and say, no, we can't have them looking at us. We can't have them talking about Jeffrey Epstein and all that. Let's start some kind of a race war. Let's get them fighting with each other, because if they're fighting with each other, then they're not looking at us. I mean, like I said, it does sound like just kind of a crazy conspiracy theory, but I do think that it has a lot of weight to it. These people know the manipulation tactics way better than I do, and so the next time you hear about some crazy story that's going around, maybe don't go out and riot and attack people and start some sort of culture war. Try to listen to both sides of every story. Don't believe every Facebook meme somebody sends around. And if somebody shows a very cherry-picked statistic for you, take it with a grain of salt and maybe look deeper into it. I just have to say, you should never get super angry about anything that you don't know a lot about. But that's all I have to say on this topic. Hopefully my thoughts came out clearly. It's taken me a long time to sort of put these thoughts together and get myself to put it into video form. So thanks to everybody for watching.